Last year, when Ndavi Nokeri was crowned Miss South Africa 2022, it was shortly announced after this that Ndavi would be representing South Africa at all 3 international pageants to which Miss South Africa held the license. Of course, Miss South Africa has been holding the license for Miss World since 1956. They've held the license for Miss Universe since 1998, and most recently, since 2020, the Miss South Africa organization has held the license for Miss Supranational, at which they have been super successful, I might add, placing as second runner-up in their first year and winning in their second year. So that's very, very exciting. However, I think that there was always a lot on Ndavi's plate. No Miss South Africa has ever represented the Miss South Africa organization at 3 international pageants. At most, previous Miss South Africas or prior Miss South Africas have represented South Africa at Miss Universe and Miss World during their Miss South Africa reign, but 3 international pageants, I must say, is a big ask of any beauty queen. So I think for that reason, the Miss South Africa organization, as well as Ndavi herself, has taken the decision to send the first runner-up of Miss South Africa 2022, Ayanda Thabethe, to Miss Supranational. Ndavi has already competed at Miss Universe 2022 recently in January, where she placed in the finals. And I think that the next pageant on Ndavi's plate is Miss World, which will probably be happening in May, of course. And I honestly think it's just a lot for one woman to be preparing for all of these international pageants who are fundamentally looking for different things in their queens. So I think that definitely it had to do with the fact that 3 international pageants is a very big ask of one woman, and it was always going to be difficult for one person to be representing their country at 3 totally different international pageants. Now, why they chose to send Ndavi to Miss World as opposed to Miss Supranational, I think many people will have theories on that. Of course, I have been saying for years, there are rumors out there that the owner of Miss World for years has been, secretly feeling that countries should not send their runner-ups to her pageants. Obviously, recently, surprisingly, Miss Universe's new owner, Kun Ann, has outright stated that she prefers countries to only send their winners to Miss Universe, and if they have an organization, preferably to only hold the Miss Universe license. Obviously, I don't think that Miss South Africa can go back now and only hold the Miss Universe license. I think that Miss South Africa shouldn't do that either. But I do also think that maybe they are cognizant of the fact that Miss Supranational's owners are not so picky. I mean, they're not full of nonsense, basically. That's why I love the Miss Supranational organization also, is that they're a very unproblematic international pageant, and that's why I love to follow them. And I also think that that is also why it is a good decision to send Ayanda to Miss Supranational rather than Miss World, in fear of offending Miss World's people or whatever. But it is also a bit sad because I was hoping to see Ndavi competing at Miss Supranational, but I do think that Ayanda will do an amazing job as well. South Africa, and more specifically a woman from the Miss South Africa organization, Lalela Mswane, is the current title holder of Miss Supranational, so only time will tell if South Africa will be able to get that back-to-back at Miss Supranational. I'm very excited to see. And honestly, it's a question whether or not the Miss South Africa organization, even if different international pageants are held at different dates and it's doable technically, whether or not they will be able to do it. Because I think that the choice to send Ayanda to Miss Supranational and to have Ndavi only competing at Miss World coming up is definitely to do with burnout and whether or not one person actually can fulfill all of these obligations, whether or not it's humanly possible for one woman to be able to fit all of these molds, to get trained for Miss Universe, essentially get retrained for Miss World, since these two international pageants differ so much. Miss Supranational, I feel like, falls kind of nicely in the middle of Miss Universe and Miss World, but even Miss Supranational have their own requirements as well when it comes to from the ground up and all of this other extra behind the scenes work that your average pageant fan never gets to see. So it is a lot of work, and I'm just wondering whether or not this structure that the Miss South Africa organization was aiming to achieve with sending Ndavi to all three is going to be doable or sustainable in the future with other contestants, or whether or not they should figure out a new system entirely, especially now that the Miss Universe organization has made it clear that they do not want runners-up at their pageant. The Miss World organization, you know, it's been an unspoken rule for many years that the Miss World people don't really like runners-up at their pageant as well. So what is the Miss South Africa organization to do in this situation? I think that what may be the best option from this point forward is to have all three representatives going to three different pageants be represented as equal, and perhaps phase out the title of Miss South Africa altogether, and then just have like the trio like they had back in 2020, I suppose, but then just not saying who the runners-up are and who the winners is. That would be such a crazy thing. But with these, you know, international pageants, Miss Universe obviously recently saying that they don't want any runners-up and preferably they don't want any other international titles being held by the national organization sending women to Miss Universe, being fussy basically, and this being an unspoken rule at Miss World for many years. It's going to be difficult for the Miss South Africa organization truly to figure out a way to manage all of these licenses that they hold. 3 licenses is no joke, even for a very resource rich organizations such as Miss South Africa that basically has a lot of resources at their fingertips, much more than neighboring countries in, you know, next to South Africa, such as Namibia, which does not have many resources for their contestants and title holders at all, especially when it comes to Miss Namibia, that is in a similar predicament with having 3 international licenses, Miss Universe, Miss World, and Miss Earth. I wonder how they will manage in the future. And so for me, I really don't have any issues with Ayanda going to Miss Supranational, other than I was really excited to see whether or not Ndavi could manage all of this hard work, and the fact that, you know, they slowly started to realize that it's perhaps not going to work. I think it makes sense. And also I think what's also contributing is the fact that there's probably going to be very little time between Miss World and Miss Supranational. And the fact of the matter is, if Ndavi did go on to actually win Miss World, then there would literally be no time to retrain another contestant. And actually thinking about it, you know, Miss World, it goes on for a pretty long time, and then when it comes to Miss Supranational, the girls have to be there some weeks in advance as well. So it literally leaves you weeks between these 2 pageants, and I just don't think that will work, because I do think Ndavi probably has a very good shot at, you know, doing well at Miss World. So if South Africa did manage to bag a win at Miss World this year, it would be a real shame for South Africa not to have someone who truly is ready in advance to go and compete for Lalela's, you know, back-to-back, that whole situation. And so I do fully understand the reasoning behind, you know, replacing Ndavi with Ayanda when it comes to competing at Miss Supranational. Let me know what you guys think. They did reveal a date for Miss Supranational this year. It's going to be happening on the 14th of July. Miss World, of course, is happening in May. And this means that Ayanda, I think they've probably been working with her, you know, at least for like a month or something. But she has a lot of time comparatively to what she would have if Ndavi were to do super well at Miss World. She has a lot of time to get ready for Miss Supranational. I think that given the circumstances, I think that it was the best decision by Miss South Africa organization to send Ayanda to Miss Supranational, who is our unproblematic queen of a pageant that just doesn't have many egotistical demands upon their national organization, which I love, and send Ndavi to Miss World, who has been, you know, low-key, according to the rumors, been pretty like not wanting countries to send their runner-ups. So there's that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think about this news. I thought it was pretty interesting when I found out. Let me know what you guys think. Is Ndavi going to do well at Miss World? I sure hope so. Is Ayanda going to do well at Miss Supranational? I think so. I think Ayanda is pretty suited to Miss Supranational. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.